Okay, so we're at the master bedroom side of the house now, and this is the bathroom, and here is the white line, which is a 1/2-inch line. That's the feeding to the toilet. We have that line going to the toilet, and then we have the other line there, the hot and the cold, which is feeding from the for the vanity, and then right here is we have our manifold, and the manifold is the location of where all the lines are starting from the 3/4-inch main line, because this main line here is much bigger, which is the main 3/4-inch line that we have going for the whole house, going from the main outside the house. So what we had to do is we have to run all the cold to a manifold, and it's we got all the fixtures here. You got the toilet, you got the vanity, you got the shower, and this side here is capped off because there's no other fixture to hook this into, so we just cap it off so that if for every reason there's another fixture that wants to be connected to it at a later date, then we'd be able to do that, which is what we may be doing with the cooler if they decide to keep their cooler. So here we have the red line, which is the hot, and that hot line is coming from the 3/4-inch main, which is what is coming from the water heater over there on that side of the house, which we'll get to in a minute. And then that is a T, because we have a T going for here, which is the shower, a hot side, and then we have the T going over there, which is for the vanity hot side. So that's how you make the connections for all the fixtures. Now we ran these things in the attic, and we ran them down the wall, so we had to cut holes in the ceiling and on the outside of the walls to be able to feed the piping through to be able to get it to the spot that we need to get it to. So this area here is the copper pipe you see here. That's the old piping. That's what the old pipe was connected to before, but they were having multiple problems with repairs and leaks happening, so they figured that the copper pipe was losing its kind of lifespan, so we've replaced it with the new pipe, PEX piping, which is the piping that's used in all new builds in around the world. So because it's you know, it's a little bit easier to work with, plus it also has a longer lifespan, and is mineral free, resistant from getting corrosion, as the galvanized and copper unfortunately are not able to avoid. So if I can kind of scan the attic here a little bit, you will see that this area is a fairly decent sized attic. You know, it's got pretty good workspace. So, but you do got to be careful when you're walking through. You got to hit all these trusses here, because if in between the trusses is a ceiling, and if you step in between the trusses, between the wood here, these, then what happens is you'll fall right through the ceiling, and then you either hurt yourself, hurt somebody else, and then you also have a lot of costly damage for repairs. So now the copper piping more than likely is probably going to stay up here. It's not active. It's not going to have any more water, so there's no worries for it. It's just that removing it may be timely and take a lot of extra time. So more likely we're going to keep it up here, and everything here is buttoned up. Now these black straps here that you see in between, you know, various areas of the attic are the straps, and these are called Talon straps. And what they are is they hold the pipe in place so that when you turn a fixture on, you don't get that water hammer. It doesn't knock or make it vibrate, because what happens is the pressure when you turn a faucet on, it tends to make the pipes move. Because these are flexible piping, it's easier for them to move, and then you'll hear like a knocking noise inside your walls, wondering where that's coming from. But it's the pipes actually hitting each other, or the pipe hitting the stud, or sometimes when the pipes are close to a vent pipe like that is, it will hit the vent pipe and kind of knock on the vent pipe. So we tie them down to avoid that. Now this is done to Arizona government standards, code standards for repiping. So we use the right piping as well as using the right materials. So this house would be, if an inspector were to come in here and look to see how everything was done, he would pass this with no problem, with flying colors. So I'm gonna kind of keep walking you through the other parts of the attic and show you where the connection that we had to make for the hose bib. Here we go. So this right here is your white line, which is our cold line. The red is the hot. And then that is teed off right there, going all the way across the underneath the attic there to the other side of the house there, behind the old furnace, which is the hose bib on the outside of the wall next to the front doorway. So this tee here was the old tee to the old hose bib that was there. So what we certainly did is we just ran it from here and then connected it all the way, made a connection from the old line. Because of the restrictions that we have, we can't get underneath that. So that was our only option, was to connect it to that copper there, which is only like about 6 to 8 feet of copper, which is not going to be a problem, because that copper was not in bad shape, and that supplies the water to that hose bib outside. Okay, and so kind of like our little workspace area right there, and the radio, and there's that water and that spray for the soldering that we had to do earlier. Now this part right here is the middle of the house. This being the middle of the house here, right here, if I'm going to show you here, kind of give you a good. Alright, so here we are, it's kind of the middle of the house here. Now the middle of the house here is where the one bathroom and the kitchen are back to back. So what we had to do is we had to use a common wall to run all lines, and this is for the vanity in the bathroom, the shower and tub combo, and then the kitchen on the other side of the wall, to get all the supply for that. So we have, again, we have another manifold right there for the hot side, and we also have another manifold for the cold side, which is where all the fixtures for all the supplies that need water are getting hooked into. As you can see there, so everything is all buttoned up, tied up, and once the and then we have another end there that does not have any water supply to it, so we did the same thing. We excuse me, we capped that off. Understand that inside of an attic you're dealing with a lot of insulation, which tends to get into your breathing and your lungs and causes a lot of coughing and sneezing, and dust is really bad inside attics, and plus it's humid. So excuse me if I cough, but also it's a really good recommendation is to wear a mask when you're up inside attics working, because you'll save your lungs from having to breathe the dust particles from the insulation. And here now, if you notice that we got this red line kind of running up high and down, the reason why we had that is because that was there was some other piping that was in the way from us being able to kind of secure down. So now it looks like it's touching the vent pipe. Now in most cases, if this thing was just laying there like loose, when they turn the hot water on, that thing would knock against that vent pipe. But because we do things correctly and we try to cover all our bases, we actually secured it to the stud. As you can see, it's secured there, so this will not knock when that's on, so it's not actually ever touching that vent pipe, so it's secured in place. Okay. Now we are in January, so thankfully it's not 100 and some degrees outside, which means it's about 120 inside of an attic. And actually, because it is cold now, it's fairly comfortable in here, not even very cold in here. So you can tell when it's cold outside, in the attic is going to be a little bit warmer. Now, as I continue going on through to the other side of the house here, you're going to see a bunch of piping, which is conduit from electrical right here. This right here is the old copper main that used to come in from the house, and then there's our new hot supply, and here's our new cold supply. Continuing on through. Now, I was mentioning earlier about the reason why we're doing this repipe is because this house had multiple repairs and some issues with the piping over time from freezing and whatnot. But you'll see here an old repair that was done between the copper pipe on both ends, which is a flex line with compression fittings, which was a repair that was done. And that was one spot. Usually, if you get one spot, it's not really too much of a problem. But then you come a little bit later on, and then you'll see another spot here. And I'm going to show you, this is actually two, because you got the one here, and then you go across here. And this is like within less than 3 feet from the original repair. Another repair was done. And this, again, like I was mentioning, this is the cold supply to the house. So you can tell if that has a leak in it, then there's no water to the house, and you're in big bad shape. So there's 2 repairs done on one supply, which is the cold supply. And then if you look right next to that one, which is the hot side, that looks like a Smith-Blair coupling, which is one of the most expensive couplings out in the market. They did a repair on that one because that had looked like a pipe leak as well. So you have, right now, if we're counting 3 spot repairs that were done up here in the attic alone for this piping. So without a doubt, it was time for the repipe to get done, and they did it sooner than later than waiting for a catastrophe or a flood going inside their house, which is very proactive and very smart. Okay, let me continue going through. Okay, and so we're going to continue going through. Keep going. We're going to keep keep our sights here in front of us. Now that right there, you're looking at right there, that's insulation. That's all the spray insulation that they put inside the house for, for a barrier between the drywall and the ceiling, kind of, keep the house warmer and cooler when it needs to be cooled. Okay, so bear with me. It's like I said, walking through this is pretty tough, so you gotta be careful. So I'm trying not to fall down into the ceiling. All right, so here we are at this point now, and you'll see in this copper piping, which is another reason why they use PEX now, is copper inside attics is a dangerous kind of situation. More so because if you have to sweat the copper and you have to sweat with insulation, insulation can grow and can burn real quick and real fast. And you have a fire in the house like you wouldn't believe, as fast as you could say, oh my God. So that's why they use a lot of PEX piping now, because it avoids having to use the solder. But now in some situations like the one we are in now, when you're having to use old copper connection because of the access limitation, then you got to do some kind of sweating, which is very dangerous. At the same time, you got to be very careful and take all the precautions. Now, some of the people, and as well as myself, depending on the situation, there are called shark bite fittings, which actually push on without having to do any kind of soldering, which is the safest and quickest method of connecting pipe together. But it is expensive on the market, and I do trust in myself that I can sweat this copper up here without setting anything on fire. So I went ahead and used the sweat connection instead of the shark bite. And then you'll see here going forward to where the other side of the house is at, and going to where the now we are here now where the laundry room is going to be located. And you can see here all this piping here is old and new, but we have the drop downs here for the laundry room. Okay, you're gonna have the hot and you have the cold, which is for the washer box, and then you have the 3/4 inch main, which is teed off, and then that side going there is going towards the water heater, where the water heater is connected there. and then there's your cold supply from the water heater that's going from the main to the water heater, then looping and going to the hot, and then running all the hot water throughout the house. And so that's the point. And then as you go further back to the very end of the house right there where you see it 90, that is where the beginning of our line starts from the house. So there you have where the connection is right there, and then it goes down. That goes down to the brick wall, and it goes outside, and that's where the main feed for the whole house is. So that's why you start from there and you work yourself all the way to the end of the house. So this essentially is a big project. Takes some time because you do have limitations. At the same time, you have access issues which you have to accommodate and make room for, and then you have to run the piping and kind of like follow a puzzle and get everything going in the right direction, because you don't want to cross any lines, especially the hot side. If you're running something on cold and you're hot, because then it creates a big problem, because then you have to kind of fix everything over again. And that's why we like to use the red and the white, because that eliminates any which is which. And then also it's so just for the base of the fact we always like to say hot is red, so let's use red piping for the hot side. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful, and if you do have any questions or comments, I would really appreciate that. Good or bad, I understand that everybody has a different way of doing things, but I do want to assure you that this job was done professionally as well as carefully, and we take pride in what we do. And of course, we do have some of the leftovers from the old work, which a lot of times you'll notice you'll see left behind, but we will clean up our mess. So again, this is Derek Harrington with All In Plumbing in Tucson, Arizona. And appreciate you watching this video and subscribing and commenting, and I will get back with you soon with another project. And thank you very much for watching this video. You have a great day.